Well, the FBI has announced that they are looking into the possibility that Tyler Robinson, that he may have had some help in the killing of Charlie Kirk. And more shocking, claims from Candace Owens and others online reporting more shocking news. Well, we're going to talk about this and a whole lot more on this episode of Charlie Crime Buster. It is what some people are calling, they're calling it the fastest minutes in podcasting.
The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are solely those of the individuals participating and do not represent those of city, county, state, or federal law enforcement agencies, nor sponsors and platforms of this presentation. The Charlie Crime Buster name and all forms and abbreviations are property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. All individuals described or mentioned in the presentation should be considered innocent unless or until found guilty in a court of law. This presentation contains adult subject matter. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Charlie Crime Buster. Glad to have you on the Charlie Crime train today. And the story of Charlie Kirk shooting, it continues to buzz all over the internet. But let me ask you a question. Is this so-called buzz a good one? Is it really helping the cause of justice? Or is it helping the propaganda of Russia, China, and Iran, who love to spread disinformation to divide us here in America? Well, my friend, you can be the judge of this as we try to answer that question in today's podcast. But for now, let me take a moment to welcome you. We welcome seasoned listeners who listen to us every week, and we especially welcome the new ones. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach out with a shout out. Reach me, charliecrimebuster@gmail.com. You can ask questions. You can even lodge objections, say, hey, I don't agree with you. It's a safe space. Or you can make suggestions about other podcasts you would like for us to cover. Reach out to me, charliecrimebuster@gmail.com. Hey, while you're at it, would you just take a moment right now, right before we get into the heart of the podcast, hit that like button and that subscribe button. It helps us a whole bunch if you would do that. Let me also invite you to check out our sponsor, PeacemakerNetwork.com. That's PeacemakerNetwork.com. There you can read about how we help and we encourage others to help the men and women who run toward danger instead of away from danger. Yep, the military, law enforcement, and those wonderful first responders. Check it out, won't you?
The following podcast is brought to you by PeacemakerNetwork.com. PeacemakerNetwork.com. Audio is provided by Pixabay.com. That's Pixabay.com.
Well, last week, we debunked some of those downright false narratives regarding the shooting of Charlie Kirk. And I was amazed once again this week to find other stories that have gathered a large response, and yet entirely false stories with no element of truth in them. Let me get a few of those out of the way and we'll get right to our question. Well, the first one was that Tyler Robinson, this was actually recorded. It was a big old write-up, sounded like it was coming from a news article. It was that Tyler Robinson, the alleged shooter, that while he was in court in a tense, emotional time, that he actually got up from his seat and he shouted out, "I did not kill him." In other words, this was one of those stories that would give weight to a theory, not proven, a theory, that he was a patsy and not the real killer. But, my friend, this simply did not happen. He did not make any such statement in court. No really reputable news agency reported anything like that. It was simply false. Clickbait. Disinformation. Or in other words, fake news. Then there was another story, a story that a doctor had found a note in Charlie's pocket at the hospital. A doctor. And the note read something to the effect of, "Trust no one, trust no one." Ooh, that's mysterious. And that, of course, leads to the implicating that the shooting was an inside job from someone he trusted. Again, not true. More disinformation, more fake news. It did not happen. And then there was a third one. They, whoever they are, they really wanted to get things buzzing when they reported that Joe Rogan, with his millions of followers on this podcast, actually got into the Candace Owen, Eric Kirk drama by mentioning on his podcast that Erica Kirk was trying to keep Charlie Kirk away from Candace Owen. And of course, that was implication that was bringing Joe Rogan into the far-out ramblings of Candace Owen on the Charlie Kirk shooting. Again, a look at Rogan's podcasts, well, it tells us that that did not happen. It revealed no such thing, said no such thing. Now, while in the past he has praised Owen, sometimes for questioning authorities, he did not mention Candace Owen and Eric in a discussion together. Again, disinformation, fake news. So now, we just about have to ask ourselves the question, why so much fake news? And why so much disinformation about the shooting of Charlie Kirk? Why? Well, for one, we do know that Charlie Kirk, well, he was a highly profile and politically charged target. And there is automatically, in situations like that, there is intense interest. And you take that intense interest and you combine it with strong emotions, and you can see why it gathers so much attention. And something that gathers so much attention, it becomes an easy spot for speculation to attach itself. Now, we also got to realize that, wow, this is a fast-moving information age. It's like information today, from time back, today information is on steroids. Videos, images, they all move in, well, lightning speed across TikTok, X, Instagram. All of this is taking place in seconds before any such verification, let alone full verification, that it is true. Now think with me here. We know that some of this was manipulated. We know that it was miscaptioned, to grab those clickbait, we might say, becomes clickbait. And much of it is taken out of context. And you have to think, if all this is taking place, by its best is ignorance. In other words, you see something that looks like a news article. Oh, wow, that's interesting. So then you share it, and then somebody else shares it, somebody else shares it, somebody else shares it. Now, sometimes that could be at its best out of ignorance. You just did not know that it was disinformation. You did not know that it wasn't true. You did not know that it was fake news. That's why we at Charlie Crime Buster always say, pause before you post. So at its best, it's ignorance. But at its worst, it is on purpose. That's right, on purpose. That there is some underlying motive for spreading this disinformation. Now add all to this that now we have AI tools and bots. And all of this that was already on steroids, this information being put out on steroids, now it accelerates even that. When you have AI tools and bots, now you not only have people that are turning around and sharing it with someone else and someone else and someone else. Now you got bots out there that takes the place of thousands of people that continue to accelerate and spread these fake stories. And hey, friend, don't forget now, mentioned this last week. I think it's very important. We still have Russia, China, and Iran. And they always want to amplify division about our politics. They use things like gun violence and extremism to so-called sweeten the pot and to make it even worse. Please don't tell me you don't think that these countries can't be behind some of this. We know they are. So now, while we're in it. Well, I mean, these false stories and reporting on the social media all over the place, then how can we know sometimes which story is true, which story is not? Well, one thing you can do is make sure it is a responsible media company that's actually sharing these things. There is one story, though, that came out recently that was not manipulated. It was one about where the FBI said they are taking a look at anybody that may have known or helped Tyler Robinson's involvement into the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And you may be thinking now, well, if the FBI is now, this is not fake news, if the FBI is now saying that they are looking into the involvement of others, does this not feed into the highly charged statements of Candace Owens and others? Is Candace Owens really on to something? Well, I'm going to answer that question in a moment. But now it is time for us just to take our breath collectively and take just a moment before we get right back into the focus and share with you what we call every week Charlie Crimebuster's Crazy Crook of the Week. Now, here in the fine state of Florida, my friend, if you're going to break the speed limit, there are some very serious consequences. If you break it so much over the speed limit, it becomes a really, really difficult charge for you to get out of, and it's one that has serious consequences. But let me say, as far as our Crazy Crook story, if you're going to break the speed limit, which for the record is not a good idea, but you know what else is not a good idea? It's not a good idea to take a video of yourself in the process of speeding. Yep, that's exactly what the driver of a C8 generation Chevy Corvette did in Tempe, Arizona. Yep, Tempe, Arizona. Recently recorded himself driving, and listen to this, at more than 140 miles per hour. This is according to the Tempe Police Department. Now, the next day, police said they encountered him, and he tried to make a run for it. But the cops this time were prepared. They captured his mid-engine sports car with a grappler. That's right, a grappler. And the driver was arrested, and that beautiful Corvette impounded. And according to police, well, the incident began when the suspect recorded himself exceeding 140 miles per hour while crossing the Mill Avenue Bridge in Tempe. Now, that same car had been reported to the police several times, surprise, 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 for reckless driving, loud noises. That's according to the authorities there. Now, video posted by the police, and it appeared to come from the Corvette's own onboard performance data recorder. It showed what seemed to be a bike mounted, on a bicycle. He attempted to stop this speeding Corvette when it stopped at a light in town. However, the video shows it very plainly. The driver, this idiot, this crazy crook, took off, blowing through several red lights. And then the next day, that Corvette driver was spotted speeding again. But this time, they didn't try to stop him with a bicycle. No, they had a patrol car armed with a grappler device, and they were able to successfully deploy that car-catching device, and they brought that Corvette to a stop. But let me tell you how it even gets crazier. He was caught red-handed, but he wasn't ready to concede to police. After being placed in handcuffs, this comes from the police body cam footage, the officer asked him, why would you slow down and then rapidly accelerate from the police? And the suspect says, you can't make it up. He said, are you sure that was me? Oh, my friend. Fleeing from a police car in Arizona, it's a Class 5 felony. And if convicted, the driver faces a prison sentence up to, get this, 1.5 years and a fine up to $150,000. Very expensive, and I can bet you that grappler probably did some damage to that now impounded Corvette. I bet you this, I bet the police don't pay for that damage. It was a result of him breaking the law. Hey, an interesting thing I saw about this story, just like an hour down south from that Mill Avenue Bridge, well, the Podium Club. The Podium Club is a racing facility. And he would have been much better off to just go to that facility, sign up for one of those high-performance driver education event at his local track. Doesn't that make a lot more sense than running from the popo? Well, this idiot who drove 140 miles per hour and recorded himself and posted it, he is indeed Charlie Crimebuster's Crazy Crook of the Week. Well, now back to our main focus. Investigators in the case, the FBI, are speaking out about the possibility that there could be others linked to Tyler Robinson's actions. By that I mean there could have been somebody else who knew that he was planning this. Somebody else who had knowledge that he was planning this. And somebody else could have been communicating about that. Now, while this has been treated by some right now as new information, it was actually posted a few weeks ago during Kirk's memorial service. The FBI said it's pursuing every lead. Now, for those who want this to be more than it is, we're going to find that it's not just something that proves what their theory is, that Charlie was not killed by a lone gunman. As of now, that investigation, checking everybody out, has not publicly concluded that others were definitively involved or that they are being charged. Now, that focus is on the digital footprint. Remember those chat discussion groups where he talked to those people? So they're going to be looking at those chat groups. They're looking at the transport path of the weapon. And they're looking, of course, at people that are very close to Robinson. Now, one of the things that Candace Owens says in her multiple implications, with no credible collaboration, is that the government is hiding something from us. She's implied that the government may have been involved in his death. Hey, friend, I know investigations. Investigations have to maintain integrity. That's why we in law enforcement often do not release information on investigations. How many times have you seen reporters talking to investigators and said, this is under investigation, we cannot comment on it? You see, there's a reason for that. Number one, that information has to be vetted. And they have to take the time to prepare to present this case, not to the press, not to the public, but investigators are working to present their case to the court, a court of law where evidence is then available to the public. This is why often you hear officials saying we cannot comment on an ongoing investigation. But Candace, no, she takes this to mean, the government's hiding something. The government is in on it. Investigations have been doing this forever, and there's a reason for it. Go all the way back to the Idaho college killings. There they kept a lot of things close to their vest. They did not want to spook their suspect, and the way they handled that was exactly the correct way. They only shared things with the public when it became necessary to help find their suspect. And that's the way investigations are run. But no, Owens, she comes back and says, well, this is what she tweeted. Discord has come out to tell us that the feds are lying about Charlie Kirk's death. She also claimed that the federal narrative involving the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, is, quote, unquote, she said, complete fiction. She says the federal government is lying about the probe into Turning Point USA founder's shooting. That came from the Economic Times. She also alleged that the Federal Bureau of Investigation has a compromised relationship with the Anti-Defamation League, and that parts of the investigation are being manipulated or misrepresented. I don't know why, but she appears to be obsessed with this Israel connection, trying to do anything she can to tie some strings about Israel and to Charlie Kirk's death. Then she said, and she actually posted this, quote, "I've just spent hours working through this timeline, and I am now fully of the belief that this is in fact a federal conspiracy. There's no other explanation. They are lying about Charlie Kirk's assassination." That is some very, very strong allegations. And while she strongly suggests that government's involvement are a cover-up, she does not specify exactly which parts of the government or what level, FBI, local law enforcement, intelligence agencies, but her language clearly implicates federal agencies. But my friend, her claims are not supported by publicly released, independently verified evidence. They are simply framed as theories and allegations. The statements are controversial. They have drawn pushback from major media and commentators, noting that all of this does nothing but more contribute to the conspiracy narratives. Now, I've been listening to some of her other claims, and I'm not quoting what somebody else has said about it. I'm talking about her. She even mentions about a low-lying airplane. Now, this is not from a news article. I heard it myself. She talks about, there's something suspicious because there was a low-flying airplane over the event. But there's no verified report showing a plane flying at an unusually low altitude over the event or the campus at the moment the shot was fired. The official descriptions of the shooting indicate it came from a rooftop across the campus. And this speculation about a jet is more conspiracy-oriented than based on any law enforcement confirmation. The authorities, even the FBI, have not publicly tied any flight to the homicide investigation. Now, there was an airplane that took off shortly after he was shot. A private jet registered as tail number N888KG reported to depart from the local airport there, which is less than 15 minutes from the campus shortly after the shooting. Now, that did happen. And that jet, because of people like her, Owen, became the subject of social media speculation about maybe a link to the shooter's escape. But the owner of the aircraft publicly denied any connection to the shooting, and nothing investigated about this bears any connection whatsoever to the shooting. It's almost as though people like her are throwing anything, any rumor, right up to the wall, hoping that it will stick. You know, my friend, I got to tell you, I don't know what amazes me most about this. The fact that Candace and others are making such outrageous claims, or the fact that she has 6 million followers, some of whom are buying into these theories without any credible collaboration. Now, here's another example of her wild claims and impacted implications. According to one article, Owens asserted Tyler Robinson is framed, his father having turned him in after a confession is also complete fiction. To the contrary, she says Tyler Robinson maintains his innocence. Now, will he plead not guilty? Of course. Does that mean he maintains his innocence? Well, maybe it does that, but he's not up there just, I didn't do it. He's just doing what his attorneys tell him to do. In another posting, she said, under the hashtag, parents don't believe he did it, or equivalent to it, meaning that the alleged parents don't believe that their son was the shooter. You see this on Facebook and other places. She also claimed that Robinson's families insist the man in the surveillance photos is not their son. But that has never been verified. There is no quote from Tyler Robinson's parents in a credible media outlet saying, we believe he did not do it. It's just not there, folks. Now, the official records do contain that the parents, and this is an indictment itself, the parents identified their son in a photo and that they saw, online or on TV or something like that. They thought it looked like their son, and the father did ask him about the rifle. Show me the rifle. And he could not show that. And that certainly suggests, contrary to what Candace says, the parents believed that their son could have been involved in the shooting. Additionally, according to this affidavit, they asked him why he did it, and he gave the motive. He said because of the hate he shared. Well, Candace Owens has claimed that Tyler's parents don't believe he did it. But from the available public records, there's no independent, verifiable collaboration. In other words, if you hear anything about the parents saying this, you should just treat it as asserted by Owens. It's certainly not proved statement by the parents. Then, amazingly, Candace even contradicts her own self. In one of her wild claims, she says she does not believe that Tyler was a shooter and even doubts that he was there on campus. But then another one of her rants, she says that there was a lady there helping him get away. Now think about that. If he wasn't there, why would a lady be there helping him get away? And he was not the shooter. Why would he need someone to help him escape? She's contradicting her own wild claims. All of this, uninformed speculation. The bottom line, my friend, is yes, the FBI is investigating just like they do in all such shootings. They're investigating anybody that could possibly be involved, either in the planning of the crime, the procurement of the record, of the weapon rather, or the practice with the weapon. Remember, here's something else. He did practice with that weapon. They found recent targets that he had shot at. Oh, that's so much to her other comment that he was a fisherman, not a hunter. Well, I guess maybe he was taking that rifle out and targeting him so he could shoot fish. No, he wasn't doing that. He was preparing to allegedly shoot Charlie Kirk, not shoot fish in a barrel. Candace said, well, he's a fisherman, not a hunter. Yep, he practiced. And the FBI is looking at anyone that may have known him or observed him or participated with him. And so far in this investigation, no one else has been arrested. Folks, this is a pretty open and shut case. You should not get involved in going down these rabbit holes that people are trying to conjure up just to spread conspiracy theories, just to get more followers, just to get more clicks. And there's some other stuff here. There's some other stuff that we're going to get into next week. It even gets so wild that there is implications, according to these people that are spreading this disinformation, implications that Erica Kirk herself was involved in this conspiracy. We'll talk about that next week. So, my friend, follow the evidence. Get away from opinions. Get away from any mention of things that cannot be collaborated in an official way, in a verifiable way. We need verifiable collaboration, reasonable collaboration, before you chase down any of these long tails that are swirling around on the internet. And like I said last week, the thing that bothers me most about this, everybody has a right to say what they want to say. I understand that. You should be responsible for what you say, though, don't you think? Everybody has a right, though. But the problem of all of this is we're missing the point. We're missing the point that a young man was taken from his wife and precious children all too early by someone who thought that they had a right to take a life. So until this time next time, this is Charlie Crimebuster reminding you, be safe, be alert, for the life you save may be your very own.
You have been listening to Charlie Crimebuster. We would like to thank our sponsor, the Peacemaker Network, and also encourage you to support the first responders, military, and law enforcement personnel by contributing to the Peacemaker Network. That's peacemakernetwork.com. All music and sound effects are courtesy of Pixabay.com. That's Pixabay.com. You can also support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, tag @CharlieCrimebuster, and then click the subscribe button. By doing so, you'll be notified each time we drop one of our shows. Another more convenient way for you to listen to our podcasts, or for you to say to your smart speaker, play Charlie Crimebuster. If you have comments or suggestions, we would love to hear from you, so please send them to charliecrimebuster@gmail.com. That's charliecrimebuster@gmail.com, or you can call or text us at 407-917-2211. That's 407-917-2211. Thank you for listening, and we hope that you will join us again for another exciting crime episode with Charlie Crimebuster.